Why can't businesses rely on Microsoft 365 for data backup? Here's the honest answer. Microsoft 365 is not a backup system. It never was designed to be one. The base subscription is built to keep the service running and your data available while you're using it. It was not built to let you roll back your entire organization to a known good point in time after something goes wrong. That distinction is the whole story, so let's walk through exactly where the gap is using Microsoft's own documentation. Start with email. When someone deletes a message in Exchange Online, it doesn't vanish immediately. It moves to a hidden folder called Recoverable Items. By default, items sit there for 14 days. An administrator can extend that to a maximum of 30 days. After that window closes, the message is gone. There's no button to press and no support ticket that brings it back, unless a retention policy or a hold was already protecting that mailbox before the deletion happened. Now, think about what that means operationally. 14 days is not a long time. A mass deletion caused by a bad rule, a compromised account, or an employee acting in bad faith is often discovered well after 2 weeks have passed. By the time someone notices the finance folder is empty, the recovery window may have already closed. SharePoint and OneDrive work differently, and they're actually more generous. Delete a file and it goes to a first-stage recycle bin. Delete it from there or let the retention period expire, and it moves to a second-stage recycle bin. Microsoft's documentation is specific here. The combined lifetime across both recycle bins is 93 days from the moment of deletion. After that, the item is permanently gone from both bins. Here's the part most people miss. A recycle bin protects individual files that a user deleted. It is not the same thing as restoring an entire site, a whole document library, or a full folder structure to the way it looked last Tuesday morning. Recovering one item is easy. Recovering a coordinated point in time across thousands of files, some deleted, some overwritten, some renamed, is a completely different operation. Native OneDrive Files Restore does let a user roll their own OneDrive back up to 30 days. That's a real and useful capability, but it's scoped to one person's OneDrive, not a shared SharePoint site, and 30 days is still a hard limit. Now, consider the employee lifecycle, because this is where MSPs see real damage every month. When you remove a license from a user, their Exchange mailbox data is retained for 30 days before permanent deletion, according to Microsoft's own guidance. OneDrive behaves differently. Removing a license alone does not delete OneDrive content. Deletion only starts when the user account itself is deleted in Microsoft Entra AD. Once that happens, there's a default 30-day countdown, then a 7-day final warning, then the OneDrive moves into a recycle bin for 93 more days. Miss all of those windows across a departed employee's mailbox and files, and that data is not coming back through any panel in the admin center.
Ransomware adds another layer that catches people off guard. OneDrive's sync client faithfully mirrors whatever happens on the local device, including encryption. If ransomware encrypts files on a synced laptop, those encrypted versions sync straight up to the cloud. Microsoft does provide ransomware detection and a 30-day rollback for OneDrive, and that's genuinely helpful. But it only covers OneDrive. It's bounded to 30 days, and it does nothing for a SharePoint site or a mailbox that was hit the same day. This brings us to the concept people confuse most often: retention policies. A retention policy tells Microsoft 365 how long to keep something before deleting it, or how long to prevent deletion for compliance reasons. That is fundamentally different from backup. A retention policy has no concept of restoring a site to how it looked yesterday at 9 in the morning. It preserves content in place in a hidden preservation library so it can be found later through eDiscovery. It was built for legal and regulatory defensibility, not operational recovery. Litigation hold and eDiscovery are the same category. They stop data from being deleted during an investigation. Neither one is a restore button. Now, here's what's changed, and it matters. Microsoft now sells an actual backup product called Microsoft 365 Backup as a separate paid add-on. It protects Exchange Online, SharePoint, and OneDrive with a 1-year retention window, and it's priced by the gigabyte per month with free restores. This is a meaningful shift. It means the honest framing today is not that Microsoft offers zero backup, it's that the backup capable of full point-in-time recovery is a separate purchase you have to actively choose, configure, and manage. It doesn't come standard in your Microsoft 365 license. And this all traces back to one sentence in Microsoft's own services agreement. Microsoft recommends that customers regularly back up their content and data because in an outage, you may not be able to retrieve what you've stored. That's the shared responsibility model in plain language. Microsoft guarantees the service is available, you own the data inside it, including deciding how it gets backed up and how fast you can restore it. So the real question for any regulated business isn't whether Microsoft has some retention mechanism somewhere. It's whether you can restore a specific mailbox, a specific site, or your entire tenant to a known good state on your timeline, not Microsoft's default window. That's the gap we help clients close every day. If you want a second set of eyes on how your organization would actually recover from one of these scenarios, Securafy runs strategy calls for exactly that. There's a link in the description to book one.